The Corpse Beneath the Bed by Derek Thompson. A newlywed couple arrived in Las Vegas for their honeymoon, excited to begin their adventure. As they entered their hotel suite, they were immediately hit with a foul odor that permeated the entire room. The husband quickly called the front desk, requesting to speak with the manager. He politely explained the situation and asked if they could be moved to a different suite. The manager apologized profusely, but informed them that due to a large convention in town, they were completely booked. As a gesture of goodwill, he offered to treat them to lunch at any restaurant of their choice and assured them he would send housekeeping to thoroughly clean the room. After enjoying a delicious meal, the couple returned, hoping the smell would be gone. To their dismay, the stench was just as strong as before. The husband called the front desk again, clearly frustrated. The manager promised to search for an available room at other hotels, but after numerous calls, he regrettably informed them that every hotel on the Strip was fully booked for the convention. Left with no other options, the manager said they would try cleaning the room once more. The couple decided to spend a few hours exploring the city and trying their luck at the casino to give the staff time to resolve the issue. Once the guests had departed, the manager personally led the entire housekeeping team to tackle the mysterious odor. They meticulously inspected every inch of the suite, but found nothing out of the ordinary. Determined to fix the problem, they replaced all the linens, put up fresh curtains, shampooed the carpets, and used the strongest cleaning products available. 2 hours later, the couple returned hopeful their room would finally be habitable. As soon as they opened the door, they were hit with the same nauseating smell. The husband's patience had reached its limit. He was determined to find the source himself and began frantically tearing the room apart. In a moment that would haunt them forever, the husband lifted the mattress off the box spring and made a gruesome discovery. Hidden beneath was the decomposing body of a woman. The couple stood in shocked silence as the horrifying reality set in. What should have been the start of their new life together had turned into a nightmare they could never forget. As police sirens wailed in the distance, the husband recalled a verse his grandmother often recited. "And we will surely test you with something of fear and hunger and a loss of wealth and lives and fruits, but give good tidings to the patient." In that moment he realized their honeymoon had become a test of faith neither of them could have imagined. The Maid's Deadly Deception by Christopher Hayes. My wife and I were basking in newlywed bliss on the beaches of Oahu. Our peaceful afternoon took an unsettling turn when my wife returned from the restroom visibly shaken. She described a menacing man who had been watching her and attempted to block her path. Only the arrival of other beachgoers had allowed her to escape. We scanned the area, but the man had vanished. An uneasy feeling settled over us as we made our way back to the hotel. We reported the incident to a police officer patrolling the beach, hoping it was just an isolated occurrence. After freshening up, we enjoyed a romantic seafood dinner and strolled along the moonlit shore. Close to midnight, we finally returned to our room, ready to unwind. A sharp knock at the door shattered the tranquil atmosphere. Through the peephole, I saw a man in a maid's uniform. When I opened the door, he immediately tried to force his way inside. I instinctively pushed back, demanding to know his purpose. He claimed to have left something in the room earlier, but we had kept the "Do Not Disturb" sign up all day. As I processed this information, I noticed his eyes fixated on my wife behind me. Suddenly, my wife's scream pierced the air. "That's the man!" Before I could react, the intruder lunged at me, gripping my throat with one hand while reaching for something with the other. Time seemed to slow as I saw the glint of a knife blade swinging towards me. In that moment of terror, I silently prayed, "My Lord, I seek refuge in you from the evil of that which you have created." As if in answer to my plea, my wife sprang into action, smashing a lamp across the attacker's face. The commotion drew our neighbors into the hallway, their shocked faces adding to the chaos. Police sirens wailed in the distance as we struggled to process what had just occurred. We were alive but badly shaken, knowing how close we had come to tragedy. As we gave our statements to the officers, I couldn't shake the feeling that this man had specifically targeted my wife. His brazen attack in such a public place spoke to a level of desperation or madness we couldn't comprehend. Our idyllic honeymoon had been shattered, replaced by a newfound wariness of the world around us. We were grateful to be alive, but the shadow of what might have been would haunt us long after we left the islands behind. The Highway Ambush by Robert Mitchell. Our family road trip from New York to Disney World took an unexpected turn as we crossed into Georgia. It was nearing midnight, and I was the only one awake, determined to push through to Florida. The empty highway stretched before us, eerily quiet in the darkness. Suddenly, two flashing red lights appeared on the horizon. As we drew closer, I saw a car deliberately blocking the road, flanked by traffic cones and emergency lights. My instincts screamed danger as two hooded figures emerged from behind the vehicle. Heart pounding, I slowed the car and cracked my window just enough to hear them speak. When one of the men demanded I open the door, alarm bells rang in my head. I quickly closed the window as he reached for something in his pocket. Without hesitation, I floored the accelerator, swerving around their makeshift roadblock. In the rearview mirror, headlights suddenly blazed to life, rapidly gaining on us. My wife jolted awake, confused by our speed. I whispered urgently for her to stay quiet, explaining we were being pursued. The car behind us flashed its lights menacingly. Suddenly, a loud pop shattered the night as our car lurched violently. I struggled to maintain control as a second pop sent us fishtailing across the road. My wife frantically dialed 911 as our children woke crying in terror. The pursuing vehicle rammed our trunk repeatedly, each impact feeling like it might be our last. In that moment of desperation, I silently recited, "And whoever relies upon Allah, then He is sufficient for him." As if in answer to my prayer, police sirens wailed in the distance. Our attackers veered off at the next exit with law enforcement in hot pursuit. I pulled to the shoulder, heart racing, as reality set in. Both rear tires had been shot out, leaving us stranded but alive. Within minutes, police and a tow truck arrived on the scene. The officers seemed almost giddy as they informed us the suspects had been apprehended. We learned another driver had encountered their trap earlier and managed to escape, alerting authorities. As we waited for our car to be repaired, I held my family close, grateful for our narrow escape, but forever changed by the knowledge of how quickly a routine trip can turn into a fight for survival. The Killers in the Crops by Amanda Peterson. My sister was in her 20s, vacationing with her now husband in St. Martin. They had rented a car to explore the island. One day, while sightseeing, they found themselves on an isolated side road far from any buildings or signs of civilization. It was a scenic route, but pretty deserted, probably not leading anywhere important. As they drove along the empty road, something odd caught their eye. The back end of a car was sticking out of the crops on the roadside. As they got closer, they could make out an unbranded, rusty neon blue vehicle that had seemingly swerved off the road and into the field. My sister's husband slowed down and pulled over, telling her to stay put while he checked it out. She watched nervously as he approached the abandoned car and peered through each window, looking for any sign of people. Inside, the car was empty, but as he glanced down, he suddenly jumped back, startled by something. Concerned, my sister got out to see what was wrong. They both crouched low to look underneath the rusty old vehicle. What they saw made their blood run cold. Two grown men were hiding there, clutching large knives. A bloody corpse lay between them. My sister's husband roughly shoved her back towards their car as the men began crawling out. Her heart pounding, my sister scrambled into the passenger seat as her husband raced back. The two knife-wielding men were now on their feet, advancing menacingly. He barely made it into the driver's seat, slamming the door shut as they sped away down the road, tires squealing. They drove in terrified silence until reaching the nearest town, constantly checking to make sure they weren't being followed. With shaking hands, they called the police to report what they'd seen. My sister says they both get visibly uneasy whenever the incident is brought up, so we try not to mention it. But I can tell she's never been quite the same since that horrifying encounter. The Stalker at Sea by Jeremy Walsh. I was 16 when summer vacation started, and my grandparents treated our whole family to a 10-day Royal Caribbean cruise to Florida and the Bahamas. There were 13 of us total, including my siblings, parents, aunt, uncle, cousins, and grandparents. I spent most of my time hanging out with my 20-year-old brother, Rob. We even got to share a room together by claiming our dad was staying with us. One night, Rob and I went to the ship's nightclub. I had snuck in using someone else's ID card. While inside, I noticed a creepy older man sitting alone by the wall, staring intently at me. I moved around to test if he was really watching me, and his gaze followed me everywhere. Feeling deeply uncomfortable, I quickly left. Outside the club, I found my sister and her boyfriend at the bar and joined them. A few moments later, I spotted the same man, now sitting across the room, still fixated on me. My heart started racing, but I looked away, pretending not to notice. For some reason, I didn't tell my sister what was happening. I left the bar and hurried back towards my room, constantly glancing over my shoulder. I made it safely to my room, extremely creeped out, and convinced the man was some kind of pervert. When I heard a knock, I nervously checked the peephole, but it was just Rob. I didn't see the strange man again until late the next night. Around 1 a.m., Rob and I went with my sister and her boyfriend to one of the onboard restaurants. I was tired, so I headed back to our room alone. When I got there, I found the door cracked open with the light on inside. I knew we had shut it when we left, and room service wouldn't be there at this hour. My pulse quickening, I cautiously pushed the door open. The room appeared empty, and I checked the bathroom too, finding nothing. All our belongings seemed untouched. I figured maybe Rob had come back briefly and forgotten to close the door. So I tried to shake off my unease and went to sleep. I jolted awake in darkness to the sensation of something brushing my cheek. It was a hand. I pushed it away, telling Rob to knock it off. But as my eyes adjusted, I realized Rob wasn't in his bed. Terror gripped me as I let out a blood-curdling scream. Rob leapt up, flicking on the lamp. There stood the man from the club right next to my bed. Rob tackled him and started throwing punches. I joined in, and we managed to subdue the intruder. Within moments, there was frantic knocking. It was our parents. My dad held the man down while we called ship security. 2 security officers soon arrived and took the stalker to the ship's jail for the remainder of the cruise. I'm not sure what happened to him afterwards, but the incident has left me deeply traumatized. I don't think I'll ever be able to go on another cruise again. The memory of that hand touching me in the dark still haunts my nightmares. As I lay there, paralyzed with fear, a verse my grandmother often recited came to mind. "Say, I seek refuge in the Lord of daybreak from the evil of that which he created." It gave me a small measure of comfort in that terrifying moment. But I still wonder what might have happened if Rob hadn't been there.